and today I want to talk about some tips for helping you manage body-focused repetitive behaviors. So this can be biting your nails, pulling your hair out, picking apart your split ends, picking your scabs, picking your skin, picking your pimples, any other things that have to do with your body, right? So I feel like we do this because we're neurodivergent. Maybe you're undiagnosed, or you know that you have ADHD or autism. And we do this as a way to kind of like, I think, get out like excess energy, like in a spiritual sense. But like, obviously we want to fidget with things. Like that's one of the symptoms, right? We fidget a lot. And I feel like when we don't have tools and we don't know what the options are for fidgeting, that's when we look to our body and we start pulling our hair out or biting our nails. So like in school, I would always bite my nails. My nails would be so short. And when I was little, I would go and get my nails done with my cousin and my mom and my aunt, and the nail ladies would always make fun of me that my nails were so short. So that's why I started painting my nails on my own. So say you bite your nails, one way that you can change this into a positive is like painting your own nails, and like you can file them yourself. And like I don't have to clip my fingernails, because when they do get to a certain length, when they get too long, then I will bite them. But like if I can clip my toenails, like file them, whatever, and then paint them. So I paint my nails once a week, okay? So that's one thing that you can do. And then as something else that I used to do was I would pick apart my split ends starting in middle school. And then in college, one of my friends told me that like picking your split ends is bad and you're not supposed to do that, right? So because I realized you're not supposed to do that, I'm like, okay, I can't do this. But like there's still hairs. Like if you have trichotillomania, you know, like there's hairs that feel weird, and like you're like all of your hairs, you want them to feel like nice and smooth, and the ones that feel weird and crumbly, like you don't like that. So I started cutting it, and then it translated into me pulling my hair out. And like this, I think, is a stim. It's a destructive stim, right? So I didn't know that I had autism until like 2 years ago. I never was like officially diagnosed, but my older brother's autistic, and he was diagnosed when he was 2. And so my mom, she is an REI consultant, and she helps kids with autism, and she like just started learning about autism when my brother was diagnosed, right? So then she had to watch a video for work on women with autism and like the subtle signs of autism in women. Subtle meaning like not many people pick up on it, but it is like a big deal to you, and like it causes you challenges, but it's just subtle to other people. And she was like, what the heck, like this sounds like you, Grace, like I think you're autistic, whatever. We watched the video, right? So now I realized like, oh, I was like pulling my hair out as a stim, because I would literally sit for 2 hours like after school, or like after, you know, when you have like a long day and you're just so stressed out, and like this was something that was like relaxing to me, sitting for 2 hours and like cutting my split ends and my weird hairs. Then like the cutting my hair got worse, and I ended up actually pulling my hair out. This is like embarrassing to say, but I guess you guys relate. Like in the library during college, I literally would take my scissors and I would go into like a cubicle, the corner one where I'm like alone, and I would literally like cut my hair and pull my hair, and like it was so bad. Anyway, so I clearly had a problem, and I ended up going to therapy for this, because then I confessed this to my mom, and like I had a lot of shame about it, because I feel like not that many people do that, because I guess not that many people like have autism, right? So they don't feel that, have like urges to like do something that can relax them. So it was like a self-soothing behavior for me. So they gave me tips on what to do, and basically it's a lot of like barrier methods. So you can either put band-aids on your fingers. So you have to know when your triggers are. So for me, it would be like being in a certain class in school, or when I was doing my homework or studying. So when you go to that class, when you go to the library, you have to come prepared, and you have to put the band-aids on your fingers. Not all of them. You could just do like your thumb and this finger, because like you have to pull, I feel like, with your thumb and at least one other finger, and usually it's like this one. So you only have to put the band-aids on like both of your fingers on both hands, right? Do this before you get to the library. You can't wait until you start feeling your hair to put on the band-aids. Like for me, I feel like once I get started, it's hard to stop. So it's easier for me to just know what my triggers are and then put the band-aids on before I get myself into that situation, right? And then you also want to get fidget toys, like things that you can squeeze. This one is really big, but let me get a smaller one. So this one I have. At first I was like nervous to use these fidget toys, but eventually you get used to it and it just becomes normal. I literally brought this to the bar with me, And like people think that it's cool. Like sometimes people want to see it, they want to play with it, which is can be annoying because then you're like, oh fuck, like I actually need that. Like what am I supposed to do, right? That's why it's good to always have two on you, so that like if someone wants to see it, then you have another one, right? So there are some people that might make fun of you. Like my one friend was like, would sort of make fun of me, like, why do you have these toys, right? But like she didn't know the reason why, and I kind of was embarrassed, so I didn't say why. So like there are possibilities that someone will say something to you, but for the most part nobody does. And also if you just explain yourself to them, like it's fine and it's okay. Like most people think that it's cool anyways, because I feel like a lot of people, like that's like something like kids are allowed to have toys and all that, and then when you get to an adult, like adults stop having that. And I feel like even if you're like a neurotypical, you still could think that it's cool and like want to play with it for a second. And one of the things about trichotillomania when I was reading about it online is that it puts you in a trance and like you can't think about other things. Like one of the reasons that I would do it, I guess, was to escape my life. And so like I could put myself in like a trance for 2 hours, right? And I'm not thinking about like whatever's going on in my life, right? But then at the end of that, you feel shameful. Like when you do a body focused repetitive behavior, like in the moment, yes, it makes you feel good, but then at the end you're shameful because you could be like, oh no, I have a bald spot, like oh my god, now my nails are like so fucked up, like whatever it is, right? But one thing that also puts you in a trance, like a healthy alternative to that, is crocheting. I feel like I get put into that trance state, and then when I'm done with this, like I don't have shame, I have like happiness for myself, and I feel better about myself and more positive because I'm like, oh wow, like I really made that, like that's so cool. And then like I get compliments on the things that I make all the time, right? So it's like a good way of putting yourself in a trance that is healthy for you, and it's a good way of stimming because it's a repetitive behavior. So a stim can be anything that you do to like self-soothe, and that's repetitive. So when you're crocheting, you do a lot of the same movements. Like obviously there are different patterns and stuff that you can do, but a lot of it is repetitive and like the same movements. So I think that it really helps me. And if you don't crochet or you've never have, like you should look into it and try it. And if you don't like it, you could also try knitting. So it's like kind of a little bit similar. And the thing about crochet is like you have to use both of your hands. So you wouldn't be able to pull even if you wanted to. And you wouldn't like be able to bite your nails either or pick your skin. The thing with painting, so I also like to paint. Sometimes I would get frustrated. So like I have my one hand painting, my other hand I'm like pulling my hair out and touching my hair, right? So with this, if you get frustrated with crochet, because like, obviously you get frustrated sometimes, like you still are using both of your hands to do this, so you still can't pull your hair. I have this app called Slightly Robot, and you click on it when you pulled your hair out, so you can see like how many days or hours or minutes have gone by since the last time that you pulled. And I think it's good to have like an app or some kind of data of you doing this, because like if you make yourself put in the data, like you're not going to want to pull your hair out because you're like, oh my god, now I'm going to have to record this. And then it kind of makes you realize like, why am I doing this? Like this isn't good for me. I don't feel good about myself when I do this, right? So I just checked it now, and the last time I pulled was 4 days ago. So 4 days ago, like that's not really a long time, but like before the 4 days ago, it was like 20 days or something like that. And when I did pull, it was only like 3 hairs. Like it wasn't like a huge episode of being hours. Like I did the 3, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop. Like what can I do instead of this? Like I can grab my fidget toys, I can crochet. Like this isn't something that I have to be doing. So I think that does help people. And they also say online that like trichotillomania can't be cured and there's no cure for that. And I think like my conspiracy theory about this is that if you have trichotillomania, then you're autistic, and then obviously there's no cure for being autistic because that's just how you were born, right? So that's why there's no cure for it. And you're always going to have urges, but that doesn't mean that like you're always going to have urges to fidget or stim, but it doesn't mean that you need to use your body to do that. It just means that you didn't realize that you could do other things like getting a fidget toy, crocheting, you know. In the beginning, when if you're really bad right now and you're doing this for more than 2 hours a day, or like, you know, like you do this every day, maybe even just an hour a day, like that's bad and that's not good. If that's you, and if you're even worse than that, then you need to do the barrier methods immediately of putting on the band-aids and also wearing a hat. So I wear a hat sometimes, like if I am going on the train. I crochet on the train now. Like when I in high school when I would go to therapy, I would be on the train and I would be picking apart my split ends, so literally the whole time. So crochet, like having crochet as a hobby, it just gives you something to do. Like when I went to the beach the other day, well, I go to the beach every day, first of all, and I crochet. But like I went the other day with my roommates, so I usually go by myself. But I was with my roommates, and like you can still talk when you're crocheting with somebody, and like it's better than just like sitting there and like being on your phone. And like one of them was reading a book, but like if you're like reading a book is good, like, but you don't want to just be like sitting on your phone on the beach, but it might be boring for you to just sit there and like doing nothing, right? So that's why it's good to crochet, because this is something that you can do, and like you could be happy doing this in silence or even just like listening to music. Like you don't always need to be doing it with like the TV on. And I didn't start crocheting until after I graduated college. I've seen TikToks of like this one girl who has been crocheting in class. So maybe you could do that. I don't know. I probably wouldn't do that because I feel like I maybe wouldn't be able to concentrate on class, and obviously like you have to take notes in class. But like if you're like watching a movie in class and you know you're watching a movie like that day, like I can't just watch something. Like I'm gonna fidget. So that's why if I want to watch something, like I'll also crochet while doing that, or I'll make sure that I have a fidget toy with me. I always go everywhere with a fidget toy, and I know if I need to use it, like it's okay. Like I was at work, and when I work at a restaurant, and like obviously when it's fast paced, like I don't need to use a fidget toy because I'm focused on what I'm doing and I have things to do like constantly. But if I'm just sitting around waiting for a table, like that's when I'm gonna start to have urges. So that's why then I'll bring out my fidget toy and I'll just like kind of squeeze it and play with it until it starts to get busy and I don't really need it as much. So the fidget toys are good like for when you're in public and like you are doing things that you find boring, like car rides. So the reasons that you can do a body focused repetitive behavior, I feel like if you're bored or if you're anxious or if you're angry and if you're sad, maybe there's some other reasons like frustrated, but like there's always a reason for it. And being bored is like an emotion that I feel a lot. So like that's why I need to have my fidget toys with me or have something that I can do. Like I said before, like I'm not the type of person that you can just sit on the beach and do nothing. Like I need to have something to do while I'm doing that. Obviously, like I go in the water and that's fun, and you don't need anything when you're in the water because just going under the waves and whatever, like that's fine. But like if you're doing something that's boring, like being in a car, being on the train, that's when you're going to need to create things to do. But in terms of like doing it as a stim where you're doing it for, more than 5 minutes, that's when I think that you need to come up with other ways that you can stim in a healthy way. For example, dancing is really good to do, and I like dance every day. Like at the end of the day, you can dance during the day, like dance as much as you can, honestly. But like that really helps because then you're like releasing the energy. Like I think like crocheting is good, but I think having physical movement is also really important. So like you can go to the gym, you can go for a bike ride, like anything active, jumping up and down really helps me. You could also like move your hands, and this I think is good because it really does get rid of like any energy that you don't need. So in the past when I would get really upset, like I would feel like I needed to smoke in order to get rid of those feelings, but I have found dancing to help because it like your emotions are energy in motion, so you can release them through your body. Obviously you can do this like by crying, but like you can also do this by dancing. And so one time I got an argument with my mom and we were on the way to Michael's, like the craft store. So she didn't come in with me, but then when I was in the aisle, I just started like shaking it off and like going like this. And then I actually started to feel better and like I wasn't mad or upset at her anymore. But like I know if I didn't do that, I would have been like freaking out the whole time and mad for the rest of the day, and it just would have been a big thing. So that's something that really helps me. Just dancing and like moving your body. And don't be embarrassed to do this because it's going to make you feel better. And as you do it more, your feelings of embarrassment will go away. So, as an example, when I first started going to the gym, I was really nervous to go to the gym. So, when I would get to the gym, what I would do is I would immediately go up to the cardio and I would do the elliptical for 10 minutes. And this would release my anxiety. So then I would then be able to go back downstairs and start to do what I really wanted to do at the gym, which would be like doing my leg exercises, doing some of the free weights. And so now when I go to the gym, I don't even do any cardio. I just go straight into what I need to do. Like, because like when you're nervous for something, you're nervous for your first few times doing it, but then eventually you stop being nervous of it. So when I got to that point where I didn't need to do cardio before I could do the other stuff, then I just do the other stuff. And right now, living at the beach, I have to bike ride to the gym because when in my hometown, I would take the car. So obviously, bike riding there, it's a 25-minute bike ride. Like, that is cardio, so I don't need to do it when I get there. So I know I've been saying stuff about like being neurodivergent, like having ADHD or being autistic, and like say that you are those things, then that's good and this should resonate with you. But say you're undiagnosed, you're not diagnosed with any of those things, and you're like, what the heck, do I actually have that? Like, I don't know, like, I don't know you. Like, I'm gonna say yes because I feel like this is something that neurotypicals don't do. But, like, you don't need to start freaking out and be like, oh my god, should I go get diagnosed? Like, if you want to, I guess you can do that. But, like, I think that self-diagnosis is valid and you don't need to wait. The point is that I'm trying to make is, like, you don't need to wait for a diagnosis to help yourself and accommodate yourself. So, like, in the beginning, I didn't, when my mom first said that I was autistic, like, it wasn't confirmed, and obviously it still never was. But, so for a while, I, like, wouldn't want to do the tools to help me because I'm like, well, I'm not doing this because I don't even have autism. Like, I shouldn't need to do this. But then and not even in terms of this, but also in things like wearing earplugs and, like, just other things, like, I didn't want to do it because it wasn't, like, official, the diagnosis. But when you just realize that it doesn't matter if you're diagnosed or not, you can still do things to help you, and you can still, I don't know, use whatever tools that you can to accommodate yourself and make your life feel better. So I'm making this video because my body focused repetitive behaviors were, like, very bad, and with the hair pulling, like, that's one of the reasons why I shaved my head. And so I shaved it in July, and then every 2 weeks I would shave it again, and then in November I stopped shaving it. So this is how far it has grown out. It's currently July now, actually, but I didn't shave it. I stopped shaving it in November, so I don't know how many months that is. But anyways, I feel like I'm in a place now where these body focused repetitive behaviors are not controlling my life, and they're not stressing me out and making me crazy. And that's just because of the tools of having the fidget toys, and then crocheting and dancing, going to the gym, working out, you know, jumping up and down. Like, doing these things will really help you. And I don't even need to do the barriers. I do wear the hat. I wear the hat, but I don't need to put on band-aids. Like, it's not to that point. Don't feel bad about yourself if you need to put on band-aids, because everyone has to start there, and that's what I used to do. But now I'm at that point that I don't need to do that. And obviously I'm not perfect. As I said, my last time was 4 days ago, but it's obviously gotten a lot better because that was only like 3 hairs at most. And, like, if you only do something like once a week for like a tiny bit of time, like, that's obviously very good compared to every day for 2 hours and being so 2+ hours and being, like, so crazy over it. And, you know, also, like, if you are, like, I only have experience really with, like, hair pulling and biting your nails. Like, I would pick my scabs, but I don't really, like, do skin picking or anything like that. So if your thing is hair pulling, I find that showering every day helps, because if my hair feels gross, then that's when I'm going to want to pull. So you always want to make sure that your hair feels clean. So you have to shower every day, and sometimes even more than once a day. Like, if I go to the beach and then I come home and I take a shower, and then say I go to the gym that day, then I have to come back home and take another shower. So even then, like, if you're in, like, a bad, like, pulling episode or whatever, just stop yourself. You could just get in the shower, and then once your hair gets wet, then you will be able to feel better and you won't have as strong of urges. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and comment if this video was helpful for you, and comment any other tips you have to help people overcoming body-focused repetitive behaviors. And also comment any other videos you want to hear me making. Thanks. Bye.